Aaron Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle back with you again. It is your Thursday evening, 9:31 to be exact. We're going to get an update on the winter storm that's moving through the region here for tonight and tomorrow, and then also the latest on the one from Monday into Tuesday. And then after that, the brutally cold Arctic air coming our way about 10 days. Thank you for the stars, Ambi. I appreciate you here for tonight on Facebook. Also, Shannon, thank you so much. Montez in the house with some stars. Thank you for the love. See you guys out there watching this evening, also on YouTube. Thanks for checking in. Jeffrey, yes, you are first. Nancy from McCurtain County, always in the house. And EGA Sooners in here from Northwest Oklahoma City. So be sure to leave your comments and chit-chat in the group while we discuss the weather. Tanya, thank you for the stars as well. Appreciate you guys' support. You joined the Facebook fan subscriptions or the YouTube subscription model, or there's super chats. There's all kinds of stuff. There's Facebook stars. So any way you can give back will help out to offset the costs on running this big operation. It's funny. I'm basically running a mini weather network in my office, and it's been a fun ride. All right, so let me real quickly on the Facebook side. If you haven't joined the new broadcast channel, I'm going to post it in the link. Just click on it. I think you do it on your phone, and you have to have Facebook Messenger installed. Thank you, Jared. I mentioned you earlier today. I don't know if you saw it at lunchtime. But you can see the link. I just posted in the chat. So if you don't want to do it now, come back and do it afterwards. But that will give you access to the new broadcast channel that Facebook has created for its content creators. So what I use it for is to let you know when I'm going live. That way you don't miss it, because sometimes the algorithms don't tell you. And I'll also let you know when I post a very important blog or something for you to read. But otherwise, I don't really say much because I don't want to blow up your phone. Unlike everything else that blows up your phone. I don't want to get lost in the shuffle. Okay, so out there currently, we do have some cloud cover that has moved on in. All right, temperature's about 45 degrees. And you might even see a little bit of lightning in the background. It is possible to have some heavy showers and some heavy rain moving in through the state. That's going to be coming into the metro here momentarily. So we said temperatures are a little bit on the cool side, but not terrible. I'm 45 degrees in my backyard with a very light easterly wind, about 5 to 10 miles per hour for the most part. Brigida, thank you for the stars as well. Or is it Brigita? Oh, I'm going to mess that up, aren't I? So correct me later. Send me a message. Type in how you say it in the comments. Okay, so let's talk about the first thing to mention, and that is the radar view out there right now. So you can see the heavy rainfall talked about coming in to central Oklahoma. So like I said, coming in the western and southwestern side of Oklahoma City. Another heavy batch of rain down here in southwestern parts of Oklahoma. I don't see any lightning strikes with this yet, but wouldn't be surprised at least saw one or two. But if you look out here toward the Panhandle, where you see this green turn over to the blue and white, that is snow mixed in. Same thing for the Oklahoma Panhandle and in western Kansas and also Colorado. So there's where all your snow is right now this evening as the storm system starts to move in from the west. Looks like snowfall amount so far about there's 4 inches in Dalhart. So 1 to 4 inches so far in the Panhandle with the latest beginning of the storm system. Okay, so temperatures out there across the state, like I said, in the 40s, exception of the Panhandle, they're into the 30s as colder air arrives. In the purple shading is the winter weather advisory. So in other words, this basically tells you where you're going to see some inclement weather in the form of some frozen stuff. That's going to be it can be sleet, it can be a touch of freezing rain or drizzle. It could even be snow. In this case, it's just all snow, and that's about it. Thank you, Emmanuel from Tulsa. Let's see. So let's go to the next map here, and this is the satellite view showing the storm system wrapping up and moving through. This is what we call an upper low that is moving in. So by that meaning, you can see how the airflow rotates in a counterclockwise fashion. So to get precipitation around here, you want upper lows to come through. Now in the wintertime, you get this mixed in with some cold air, and that upper level low does one of these and tracks pretty much right across the southern parts of Oklahoma. On the back end, kind of in this little quadrant right here, is the heavy sweet spot for snow. So as you can imagine, if this low went due east, that heavy sweet spot for snow would go east with it. So that's what we're going to look for, especially on the second storm system. This one is going to go poof like this up into Kansas. So it's not going to make that eastward track like it looked like it was going to make earlier in the week. So we can take a look actually at that track here with the animation of the jet stream. Again, this is that upper level low right there with all the colors represent lift in the atmosphere. So you can see how the circle pattern here opens up and it starts to lift to the north across Kansas. See how the circle closes back again and then moves back into Missouri. We still get the energy that rotates through though and all the lift with the colors on the map. That's the first wave, and then we'll fast forward over the weekend. There's another little wave there, but it should not come through with much with it. On Saturday late, it should be moisture starved. It's not a good digging system, not a closed off system. Sometimes it can produce a little bit of light precip, but we'll take a look at that here in a minute. Meanwhile, the secondary closed low coming in, that's a storm system for Monday, starting off in a good spot right here across the western Texas panhandle. And we'll take a look at where that goes here in just a minute. So we'll get to the first storm system. All right, so the red on this map at 700 millibars equals the mid-level lift, which causes the precipitation. You see how it's nice and heavy across Oklahoma for the remainder of this evening and overnight. It does shift off to the east, and there's some across Kansas. Here's kind of the center of the upper level low, so the better energy is up along with that. The better lift in the atmosphere, and that moves on into Kansas. Like I said, we'll get some probably, this little batch here probably represents some heavy snow. Probably about 5-6 inches of snow, maybe 7 in a very small region, but that's going to be your dumpage. Earlier in the week, that little signature that we saw up here was about like this. So it moved. It went from here to here. Lame, I know. Especially with the guys up here in northern Oklahoma wanted that. All right, anyway, that one moves off. And then we'll fast forward through. So here's that Saturday system. See what I'm saying? There's not a lot of lift with that below the upper level shortwave. And you got to have lift at the lower levels too, right? We have it in the mid levels, but that's not enough. That'll give you some cloud cover, but that's not going to get you the downstairs stream. All right, so here's a look at the new one come in for Sunday to Monday. Look at all that lift that already developed. So we'll start to get some rain developing here by Monday morning. A lot of moisture returning, etc. Cloud cover. All right, again, we'll detail that here in a minute. Temperatures, like we said, on the critical side tonight, too warm until we get to about daybreak hours tomorrow. And you will see, I'm going to outline here for you. We did this at lunchtime today, but basically along this line here, and it is so close. I mean, so close. This is your snow line. So cuts right through McAllister, just northeast Oklahoma City, between us and Stillwater, Guthrie, say, for example, up to Enid, and then back out here north of Elk City. So in other words, everything in this region for late tonight, early tomorrow morning will be snow. Mixed in, the rain will change over to snow. If you're getting rain, you'll get snow with it. Down here across this area, all rain. You might get some wet snowflakes mixed in here in this area of central Oklahoma, but it's not going to accumulate to anything. It's, and you'll be asleep anyway. Now, if you do get up early in the morning, you might see some flakes mixed in, but again, it should not accumulate. But up here in these areas, it will, and we'll show you the amounts here in a minute. But that's the deal, though. When you have temperatures in the low 30s, like remember, freezing point is 32. So if you're above 32, that does mean it melts. But it can be a wet snow at that, which means it can be sometimes a little heavy. Okay, so here's a look at the big picture. I want to show you the whole statewide view, the surrounding states. You can see the blue indicates the snow. This is for tonight. You can see the rain down south. But look how the rain turns into snow into eastern Oklahoma. A little flash event from rain to snow. Changes over colors real quick for a few hours into the morning hours. There's that snow moving off into Kansas. By the afternoon, it of course is long gone. Some residual up there to our north. Sprinkles elsewhere in the body of the state here for tomorrow evening. That moves on off. Here's that little Saturday thing right here. See how that little snow? See, there was a little lift with it, but it's minuscule and it falls apart way out there, and we don't get anything out of it. Okay, so we'll move on from that. We'll zoom in. So this is, again, the time frames up here at the clock. I don't know if you can see it. This is Thursday, January 4th, 7 p.m. That way you can follow this at home. And hour by hour. So you can see how the rainfall moves through. Again, that snow line is something like this, And you can see how I kind of follow that snow line and then the residual up here into tomorrow evening. Otherwise, it's an event, but it's not that big of an event. Let's put it that way. It's enough to kind of just tease you, get your appetite a little wet. Okay, so how much snow are we going to see? About could see 2 inches in some of these areas in the higher terrains of southeastern, eastern, and northeastern Oklahoma, where your temperatures will be just a degree or two cooler, and that's what's going to affect that. And then if you up to the north, you don't have to go far. Remember, the original bullseye in the model day was something like this. It didn't go far. It just went boop, right over here. So in this spot in south central Kansas, models are 11, 6. There's a spot there, about 6 to maybe 7 inches of snow here in south central Kansas. Otherwise, 1 to 3 kind of peppered here in northwest Oklahoma for tonight. Again, Enid is a cutoff line, nothing in Elk City. Up here in the Panhandle, same thing, 3, 4, maybe 5 inches of snow in this area. And of course, we've already seen that. Now, the model says Dalhart at 2.8, but as you know, from real measurements, they already saw 4. So you can see how the models will never get the exact position right. They'll just tell you the trend, and they'll tell you the general area. So that's always your take home. You will never be able to say, I will get 1.8 inches in Tulsa. It will never happen. I don't care how much AI comes in. It will never be that good. It's impossible. You just can't do that with snow. It is so difficult. All right, the north end of Kansas. Same thing, widespread, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches of snow, kind of from west to east across the southern half of the state. Trails off really quickly, though, once you get from Hayes to Salina, Topeka, and that's about it. All right, so it's a pretty good storm for you guys up there into Kansas. Now, with roads warm and ground temperature or air temperatures barely at freezing, it's not going to be a problem. So it's minor impacts here across this area in yellow as far as your threat level. Now, if it was a real storm where we had, bukus of snow and temperatures below freezing, we'd be in the moderate or the major impacts depending on what category it would be. Especially when you get to ice, it gets into the extreme. But we're not dealing with that right now anytime soon. Okay, so let's back up and let's get back into the next storm system, right? We're already on to the next one. So we talked about the next upper level low coming in right here. Now watch what happens as we get into Monday evening. Now the GFS, this is the new version that came out midday, it shifted to the south. And it took the upper level low right along the Red River and actually just a hair to the south. I saw this and I got real excited, and I'll tell you why. Anyway, this one moves on by, all right? So it doesn't do that northern jot. It goes due east. And then we'll see there are some other systems. There's another one here for around the 12th. There's another little ditty coming in right around the 13th, right after that one. But it doesn't look as favorable right now, but we'll see what changes. A lot of things will change. Meanwhile, the polar vortex will be going nuts up here into Canada, and that's going to allow some cold air to come in. And we're going to show you what that looks like here with the European data. All right, so by the way, before I do that, let me just see if the new GFS has come in yet. Ooh, it has. And how far has it gone? 42. All right, well, we're going to come back to this because I want to see if the track has changed. And we're going to zoom in. Remember, the devil's in the details. And the track is what matters when it comes to who's going to see the snow. All right, now we've talked about, watch the Arctic outbreak unfold as we head from this week into next week. Again, this is the Friday time period. You're going to watch this zone right here. And yes, it does get colder all across Canada and starts to infiltrate here in the northern parts of the country. But we're going to watch this thing just diving down here toward the end of this period. All right, so here's Wednesday on the 11th, Thursday, Friday. Look at this guy coming out. Look at this guy coming out. Boom. All right, let's go back. So Arctic air has invaded the northern plains, starting to get in the upper Midwest, and has come through the southern plains. That is the temperature of 11 to 12 degrees here in Oklahoma City by Sunday, January 14th in the morning. That's cold, man. That's some Arctic air. Now, I want you to look up here. This is stupid. Now, this is what you'd normally see in Canada. But these guys, they can handle it. So I'm going to zoom in because you just got to see this. I showed you, if some of you probably saw the post I made earlier today. We looked at the model data in that area. And if you live or have visited this part of the country in the southwestern Montana, Great Falls, Butte, look at these numbers. If I put my cursor near Yellowstone, look at minus 59 degrees Fahrenheit. In other words, that's the actual air temperature. Casper down here, Wyoming, there's minus 42, Cody minus 35. And there will be some wind, of course, because these Arctic air masses do come in with wind when they first come through. So if you factor in the wind chill value, oh, there's minus 71. Isn't that lovely? There was minus 77 I saw. There we go. Minus 77 in the same area. Over here in Casper, there's some minus 60s and minus 70s in this area. So the Rockies are going to get nasty. Let's go down like Colorado. Does it make it down here? You bet. There's minus 30s, wind chill values, minus 41. So this is some really cold stuff. This is the European data that came out this morning, which is advertising. This is the first time the models have actually shown us the potential of what can truly occur when you have a sudden stratospheric warming event. All right, let's go to the GFS model, the American model again for next week, and we'll look at that money storm system in more detail. So this is what I was kind of mentioned to earlier at noontime. We can have what we call warm air advection, where you get warm air that feeds in ahead of a very strong upper level low. Now that warm air keeps this stuff in the rain region, and what happens is, remember what I showed you earlier when I did the little L on the map, and then I kind of drew, this will be a small version of it. Remember how I kind of drew this back end? So we're gonna blow it up a little bigger. So if you look at it a little bigger, we'll have the L again about where it is, and then so in this feature, right? This is your big L. This is the upper level low down to the surface, almost a stacked column, and we will say the biggest lift occurs along the back end of that upper level low. So what we'll do is we'll put this in motion, and you will see this is the surface low, of course, but we're going to watch this thing move east just to give you the idea of where your heaviest snow is going to occur. So a lot of times in these systems, you have kind of a vertical column, and it can be tilted. So the vertical tilt would be a surface low here, and as you go up in the atmosphere, it doesn't stack directly above. There's at a slant the way the atmosphere is structured. Sometimes it can be almost vertically above. It can change, but the point is that upper level low as you go up isn't too far from the surface low. So therefore, we get in the action. So if you look here, what am I? I'm at Tuesday at midnight. Okay, so this is an example of how you get some heavy rainfall, and all of a sudden, you get this hard line in the sand and a brief transition, and it goes right to snow. And this little purple areas indicate some very heavy snow. Now, because of the track of that low down here, remember south along the Red River, and we're in that favorable northwestern quadrant, it's right here for central Oklahoma. So if this track were not to change, perfect, absolutely perfect for the I-40 corridor to get slammed with some good heavy snow for Monday into Tuesday. Let's go to the next frame. So there's that more snow there. Again, even in south central Oklahoma. And then here's another big, look at that big heavy signal for McAllister. 6 a.m. on Tuesday. And then there's Tuesday morning. And I think by lunchtime it's pretty much wrapped up. So that is an example of how that can occur. And if we were to, do I have the dew points on here? Because I think I did. Or did I get rid of them? What did I do with those? I did. So we'll do this. Put the dew points on here. So I can show you what that looks like when you have the cold air, the warm, moist air get replaced by the cold air. So envision that surface low down here and the cold front changeover in this region. So you can see dew points here in the teens and 20s, right? So in other words, the temperature, we have your actual air temperature and you have your dew point. Dew point just measures moisture. Temperature is what we all feel when we're out there and we experience. But the moisture level is capped at the dew point. So all right, so we're going to go, so in other words, the actual air temperature cannot fall below the dew point. So at 43 degrees with the dew point in Oklahoma City, in other words, the coldest we could get would be 43, which means we're just going to have a rain. So if we go through time, watch how this warm tongue that comes in, remember the upper level low, winds flow counterclockwise into that low, so that's what pulls in that warm, moist air. That starts to then get crushed in by what is going to be a cold front that moves in our way. I'm using a red arrow, but you get the idea. See how the dew points drop off? All right, so let's go a couple more. So we dropped to 33 by Tuesday, 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, remember, you can also have some really good snows still at 33 and 34 degrees. 36 is kind of like the cutoff of seeing that potential. In this part of the country, I like 34 and lower for good, heavy, wet snow. Other than that, it starts to melt too fast. So we're kind of at that cutoff. So the track is great, but because of so much warm air advection, you can see down here, we're just barely making it to freezing. Now, if you look at this line, and I talked about this at lunch, this is the 32 degree Fahrenheit line up in the atmosphere. As long as these two lines appear to the left of this line, it's all freezing. In other words, this is all snow. What it tries to do is melt right here at the lowest level, where we have 34 degrees. But because this column is so deep, it doesn't have a chance to melt. So that's good news. So all this is good news for a snow lover here in central Oklahoma. Okay, so how much snow is going to fall out of this? Well, right now let's use a generic 10-to-1 ratio. I actually prefer a different method for that because you have different ratios based off the models and based off of that in the atmosphere with the moisture content. But we'll just take this as a grain of salt for now because we don't really look at, bet the farm snowfall totals until about 2 days out. So here's a look just at a snapshot, and it does show you the take home, which is the snow, because the track of the GFS is so much further to the south, is now down here across southern Oklahoma, even into North Texas. It even has a little signal for a little bit of light snow in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But otherwise, 6 inches, 7 inches, 8 inches, there's a foot. Remember that little heavy signal McAllister, for example, that turns into about a foot of snow there out here in the Panhandle as well. There's still some of Kansas up around a foot, still going back to almost 2 feet again. I saw a 19-inch. And it does go crazy again with 2 inches or more in Missouri. So again, another example of how this model will get a little carried away with snowfall amounts, but too early to tell to see exactly how much. Let's see, there will be some wind with this event, so you might have to deal with some power outages if we can get a heavy snow load on the branches and the lines, etc. So, ice obviously is more of a factor, but if you can get enough snow, that can also sometimes occur. So we'll have to watch for that. Let me look to see if the new run is finished coming in to where we want to see it. It has not, so I'll come back to this here in a second. It's probably going to take another 5 more minutes. So we'll jump into the forecast then for the temperature-wise for the next few days. Okay, so we're looking at 40s to close to 50 through the next about 7 days. Overnight lows will be into the 30s and 20s. Now Monday it does warm up ahead of that system just because of the warm air direction we talked about. And because there's no Arctic air yet, the system will generate its own cold air. And then depending on how much snow falls, this number right here will be much colder. Now if the GFS verifies, for example, this would be quite a bit colder. We'd only get to maybe the mid-30s because the snow would prevent the warming. And then on Wednesday, you can see the atmosphere is already wanting to warm back up again. And you can sometimes hit 50 if the snow melts pretty quick. It's not that brutally cold at night. So there will be a lot of melting because the ground temperatures still are fairly warm. So it's not too much to argue with on some of these numbers. Where I start to argue is what happens in this extended outlook. The first part might be okay. A lot of times you'll have a precursor cold front to the Arctic front, and it's kind of called a continental polar air mass. That will usually kind of come in to precede the true Arctic invasion. But you will definitely notice there will be a distinct, abrupt change. The dew point values will drop into the single digits or negative numbers sometimes in Arctic air. That's the true marker. So anytime you hear somebody say Arctic air and the dew point values are in the 30s or 20s, it ain't. It's not. So just ignore that. Do you care? No. But as far as the true weather, truthers go, that's not Arctic air. That's continental polar air. And it's cold, but that's the real true measure is the dew point value if you want to talk about Arctic air. All right, but anyway, what's going to happen here in the 14th and 15th is we may not get out of the teens or even out of the low 20s, depending on how cold that stuff is. You saw what the European had showed us for, the Rockies coming our way. That's what happens is when the air comes in from that trajectory, and I'll go back to that map. Where is that here? Because even this output doesn't jive with, where did my numbers go? Oh, they're up here. With this map. So let's do a regional. So for example, when we're talking about negative 40s, let me go to actual temperatures here across the Rockies, and I'll go to the nationwide view. So the air masses, when they come from this direction, it is our coldest that we will ever see in Oklahoma, and it comes the fastest and it comes the easiest. Because what happens is the Rockies are like how would I word this? A block. So it kind of forces the cold air to travel down the edge, the slopes, and just come right into Oklahoma. All right. Now, it will spill over the top, obviously, because that's what the model is indicating, especially when the air mass is quite large. But a lot of times, this is kind of sheltered or blocked in other situations, because not every situation is going to provide this down here in a killing freeze or a killing frost down here in the deserts, southwest. So that's more of a rarity than what this is showing. So, but the point is, if it comes from this direction, we are toast, because we will get the very cold stuff and we'll get it very quick. And a lot of times it comes in earlier than expected. So this particular run had it coming in, was it by the 13th? Let's go to the end of the 13th. All right. So this is on Saturday the 13th. Is that right? Look at my calendar. That would be. All right. So Saturday 13th, it would have the Arctic front just entering the panel of Oklahoma. So in reality, it would probably likely already be through central Oklahoma. So it's about a 12-hour difference in potentially. Now, that's a lot easier to say when we've had snow on the ground and there's already snowpack in this region. So anytime Arctic air comes in over snowpack, it moves even faster. And we are having some fresh snow. So we'll see what happens. So in theory, for right now, if you were to take this as solid, I would have to bump the timing up by at least 12 hours for the arrival. Not that it matters, but right around the 13th, we're looking pretty cold from that point forward. And this is some really cold stuff. So I'm looking forward to see what happens, see how cold we get. But what does that mean for you? It means you're going to have to start getting your stuff together. By the way, here's that upper level low and the new model data for the GFS. Looks like it is the same spot. I'm going to look at the trend loop here and see. Yeah. So that model run and that model run, almost identical. Good. So it's going to stay on the same track, it looks like. Okay, so look at we'll fill in here in a minute when that fills in. But real quick, so I want to touch base on this. So what would you do for example, for extended Arctic air mass? Well, like I told Jody, we had an issue. We have outdoor plants, right? What do you do with them during the wintertime? Well, a lot of you put them in your garage. Well, our garage now is filled with other stuff. And I was like, there's no room, and I'm so sick of moving these things in and out of the garage. So I ended up doing is get one of these little temporary greenhouses that you can buy from Amazon. And I popped it up and put it outside and covered it. Hey, all the plants are doing fine. So they're handling this light winter. So I told her, I said, we're going to have to put a heater out there. If it gets to 0 degrees Fahrenheit, they ain't going to make it, even that little greenhouse. I said, well, we'll have to put a little heater out there, put up the extension cord. So for example, you'll need, if you haven't done it, which you should have already, but you're going to need to protect your pipes, your plants, that kind of stuff. When it gets that cold, I think, this is where my memory, this is terrible. As you get older, you forget your rules of thumb just because you get old. But I believe it was 17 degrees was the cutoff in this part of the country for 24 hours. After that, pipes start to burst, have a tendency to do that. So we will be in that situation, meaning you will need to make sure you protect yourself from that. So it means you have to open up your, the doors from your cold exposed walls, north walls especially, that kind of thing. But that way you don't have to deal with that problem. Of course, the city lines break. Well, it's just the way it is, and they'll have to go and fix it. That's one of those things. All right, power outages. What about that? Oh, and speaking of, for heat, if you haven't had your AC tuned up in a while, your heater tuned up in a while, you might want to do that. Just make sure it's working properly. If it hasn't been working that great, now's not the time to hope it holds through and get you through a 2-week spell of some brutally cold stuff. You might want to go ahead and get your repairman out. I would recommend that you get somebody reputable. I've got somebody you can use. They're a sponsor for me for AT's Weather. So if you'd like to do that, you can give them a call. Tell them I sent you. It's called All Comfort Specialists Heating and Air. It's on my website. So if you go to aarontuttle.com, you can see my sponsor page. It's underneath the news tab. It's called Sponsor Highlight. And All Comfort Specialists, you can give them a call. Tell them I sent you. They'll give you a little deal. Same thing for Snyder Electric. So that way, if you do have a situation of power outages, they can probably get you a system installed before that cold air arrives. Again, you get about 10 days before that happens. And if you have a situation where you need some insurance, check out 405 Insurance Advisors. As you know, homeowners insurance have gotten stupid. Car insurance is going up. They gave me the best deals. That's why I went with them, believe it or not. And couldn't be happier. So those are some examples, kind of get you prepared for the winter change. The pattern will be locked in for about 30 days usually. Once you have a sudden stratospheric warming event, which means the polar vortex is displaced, and then once that's displaced, then that means that the cold air is going to be here to stay. So in theory, technically, it usually lasts about 30 days. Will it always? Well, we'll see. But right now, it looks pretty good. Real quick, here's that map again with the GFS data that's come out. Let's see if the track has changed. Right along the Red River. I don't know if you can see this. Right here, it's a tiny little bullseye. Right over Wichita Falls. That's good. All right, now again, good if you like snow. Remember, I'm a snow lover. I know some of you hate it. You dread it because you have to drive in it. You get accidents. I get that. That's why I mentioned the insurance that we're covered. Let's see. He's heading to Monday night. There's the low moving through the I-30 corridor. Excuse me, I-35 that would be. Got to add a 5 to that 30. Let's see. Still there for Monday night. And then there's Tuesday morning. So this run, now consistent 2 in a row, almost identical. So that's what we want to see for trend-wise developing. All right. Now let's just see what it did with the snowfall amounts to see if that changed any. Oh, lame. It kept the same track, but it did most of the snow up north. Okay, so what that tells me is it's really gotten stronger with the warm air advection, which would limit a lot of this to a cold rain. Ugh, oh, that's going to irritate me. But it does crank in the snowfall amounts a little bit higher. So, for example, it's got still up around, looks like 12. There's 13 inches in Enid. But remember, we don't do amount. We don't take these for serious numbers until about 2 days out. But still, there's pockets of a foot of snow or more. Otherwise, the widespread 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches of snow. And I-40 seems to be the cutoff line with this. Interesting enough, the track didn't change, but the warm advection pattern did. So now I'm just going to do a little meteorology here on the fly. Don't mind me. I want to see what the temperatures did as this thing moved through. I have a sneaky suspicion of what's happening. So let's go here. All right, there's Sunday. Monday. All right, we're in the 40s. We got to cool down from that. Oh, look at that warm tongue of 60 degrees. Oh, that's disgusting. That's on Monday afternoon. So here comes that cold air. So, yeah, so we don't cool down until we get 35 degrees. There's 31 by Tuesday morning, where most of the snow probably starting to wrap up a little bit. Let's go see. Let's see if it's still on top of us by that point. Let's zip on through here. All right, so again, there's Monday. All right, there's the heavy snow. So what it did is it just shifted the precipitation a little bit more to the north. Kind of dry slotted us. Ugh. All right. Anyway, point being is this is why it's fun to look at this stuff, but until you get within a couple of days and let things settle down to get specifics, that's where you can come into trouble. Yeah, there's that warm advection, 42 degrees, 46 for dew points Monday during the day. That's just too warm. There's Monday night, 9 o'clock. Oh, look at this big dry punch right here in the low 20s. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's not good. Ah, that eats up a lot of our... Oh, man, that's what happens. So there's a caveat when you have a strong upper low. If it's too strong, you can get warm air advection and you can also get dry slotted. Both of those, neither of those are any good if you're a snow lover. So I'm going to go look at another level in the atmosphere because I want to see what it's doing. Let me see. So the brown here is the big time dry air, just so you know. All right, and the green and the blue is really good moisture. All right, so there's Monday afternoon, there's little pockets of dry air here, a lot of moisture here. Here. This is what I don't want to see grow. This guy right here. This is a big dry slot. What does he do? He swings around. He comes in. Okay, so that's Monday evening. That's not bad. Oh, and he sneaks in. He sneaks in here. He sneaks in here. All right, so that robs the south of a little bit of snow. That's not terrible, and there's actually some pretty good wraparound around that. So let me go. Okay, hold on, Penelope. Hold on. All right, so I wanted to go Tuesday. Yeah. Okay. Come here. All right. She wanted to say hi. Say hi, everybody. I'm Penelope. Yeah. All right. Okay, so we go look at the sounding. Ugh, that's what I thought. Okay, I gotta use my hands. Okay, all right. Go over there. Okay, so we'll see what happens. Remember, this is only Thursday night, but see this difference between the red line and the green line. This is temperature and dew point. So the difference between this equals dry air. If they're together, it means saturation. So we have a lot of dry air aloft in the atmosphere, and then we have this mid-level dry air. So that's what hoses you when it comes to snow, because it's in the snow growth zone, which hoses the precipitation formation. Ugh, lame. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. The upper level low track is still good, but like I said, some of those little pesky details can get in the way and mess up a good thing. Ain't nobody got time for that. All right, let me go through real quick on the comments. I do want to thank the rest of you that did send me some stars tonight, Darren, Paula, and thank you for hanging on, because I know this was a long broadcast. I actually intended to be it short tonight. That didn't happen. Casey, thank you for the stars. I hope the home's going well up there. Sarah, thank you as well. Amanda, thank you. So I appreciate you guys' support. Who else we got? Shannon, you're back in there. Appreciate you. Kristen also sending me some love. All of that. And then all you guys on YouTube, also thank you for checking in. A lot of times Jody will get in there and chime in with you. She's usually monitoring to make sure there's no crazies in the channels. That's where we're all crazy. Let's just put it this way. Nobody that's super crazy. But anyway, so we'll see what happens on these next two storms. I do hope that we'll get something out of it for the kids' sake. Come on, listen. It's all about the kids anyways. Some of you are big kids, but also little kids. They don't get it that often. I know it's a nuisance. I know you got to drive in it. But you know what? You got to do a lot of things you suffer for children. It's just part of being an adult, part of being a parent. And sometimes they got to get what they need to get to make it through life. And if it's a day of snow in Oklahoma, so be it. Don't be a Debbie Downer. So, as far as after that goes, we do have another potential system around the 13th, 14th, I think it is. The signal for that one kind of comes and goes, but that's normal this time. This far out, that happens. So we'll see it over the next few days if it solidifies, and then we'll start going to that one. I can tell you, though, the bad news, which is once you start to get Arctic air here, usually any system after that, if it starts to get too much warm air advection with it, we end up with ice. That's the caveat. So Arctic air can be a good thing, or it can be a bad thing. If it's deep enough in all levels and the Gulf of Mexico doesn't bring too much of that warm air in the mid-levels this way, it'll be all snow. And usually it's smaller grains of snow, so it's lighter snow as far as the moisture content goes. But if you have any warm air, that snow can melt and then refreeze on contact, and that turns into ice or sometimes sleet. But we'll deal with all that later. That's when the forecast really gets fun, because that makes it extremely difficult, but it's very challenging. So, but that's what I do, right? Okay, so that's it for me. You guys have a great night. Appreciate your time tonight, and we will chat again here soon. I'll have updates over the weekend, and maybe probably tomorrow. We'll keep tabs on the latest data and keep you informed. All right, guys have a great night. We will see you tomorrow. See ya.